I should probably put a voiceover here for our sponsor. Nah, you can read.
It's time.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am here with one, Eddie Cummings. Eddie, how have you been, man?
It's been a rough few months, to say the least.
That's not the best way to start the interview, but okay.
Been rough.
Okay.
But a couple injuries, missed a bunch of big matches, so
Okay.
really wasn't happy about pulling out of ADCC. So.
Okay, let's address that because I feel like this is part therapy session. So we're going to go and do this as a conference table. We're having a conference right now about ADCC.
This is good because my insurance doesn't cover actual therapy, so this is fantastic. I have
Okay.
a lot to talk about.
All right,
I have
so-
a lot of emotion.
Talk to me about ADCC. What happened? Because we were so excited, obviously, that you were going to be participating. I know you're going through the emotions. Some people may not know exactly what happened, but there was an injury, correct?
There was a bunch of injuries, and we really pushed through hard in the camp. Like I broke a rib a bunch of times, had some knee trouble, and finally, like the knee went out for the last time, like the day I was supposed to fly out for Finland. Like so, I was just like held together by like tape and just pushing through training so hard for months, and just had to like pull out. I didn't even make the flight to Finland. It was like, and that was like something I was training for like 2 years. Like I went full time with that as a goal, and luckily Nikki stepped in for me and performed really well. But it was kind of heartbreaking.
And heartbreaking for audiences. I think it's important to note that a lot of us who are your fans, we enjoy seeing you out there. So it's one thing to lose, but to not get the opportunity to compete is more heartbreaking, I think, more than anything, because at least you get the chance to go out there and do it.
It's a rain out, which just sucks for everyone.
Yeah.
No one likes a rain out.
But here's the nice part. So you were able to do some. Let's get to this. What were you doing during ADCC? Do you watch it when you're not participating? Do you care? Are you caring more now? What's happening?
Like if you saw me, I was home in bed. I couldn't walk very well. Screaming at the TV at like 3 a.m, watching my teammates compete, and just like getting super hyped and like yelling. It was a pretty sad scene. It was like an old fat drunk guy who played football in high school, yelling at the Dallas Cowboys about their decisions. Like I could have been, it was kind of like that. It was just not a pretty scene. There's potato chips on my stomach.
That could have been a heel hook, kid.
I put 50 pounds on from my 145 weight. It's just not a pretty sight. I'm yelling at Tavi to bring me ice cream. She's like, stop eating. I'm like, I'll stop eating when I'm damn ready.
Okay, but you watch ADCC, I'm sure, at a very different level than I do. So are you watching it, and what are things that you got excited for? Because there were exciting things. So were there highlights that you enjoyed from that competition?
I mean, I love watching the teammates compete. Like Nikki, Gordon, Ethan, Gary, Jake Shields, Tom the Play. They all did very well. And I think understanding where everyone's coming from a bit, having a similar background, you could appreciate the real brilliancies and innovations they have on their take of sort of the approach we all have. So it's really interesting to see their nuances and their subtlety. Oh, that was really clever. Even tonight watching Nikki, I'm like, man, that was slick. I saw what he did that was different than what we usually. And it's and you're like, oh, I'm gonna steal that. This is good stuff.
Because we all do that too.
I always like watching my own teammates compete, these guys. Obviously I like watching the guys in my weight class. That was very, because I'm watching and it's I was prepping for all these guys, studying their game, and it's interesting to see Cabrini used this approach or that, and you can start seeing how, this game plan would have worked perfectly against this guy, or maybe no, this wouldn't have worked. Glad I didn't compete against him, right? That would have been bad. So there's a lot of that. Because I go and I always have a very clear game plan whenever I compete. So whether I win or lose, I can make adjustments based on that very clear game plan. You could compare it easily too, just by watching sometimes. But yeah, it was rough. It was rough. It was an emotional roller coaster watching it. And I watched every second, and I rewatched it.
Well, I know that obviously it is tough to reconjure these memories, which is why I'm only going to ask about 10 more questions about it. But here's the one that I want to know, and hopefully we can talk about this and move on to other stuff. But what do you think is the best advice you could have given yourself in hindsight? Knowing what you know now, what would you have told yourself as a person who was just starting that 2-year venture into prepping for ADCC?
Yes, to stay in school. don't quit. No, I mean, I honestly the whole journey, so to speak, has been very very rewarding. I love the art. I did it for the right reason. I did it because I love the art. It wasn't to win. It wasn't to make money, obviously. Sure. But it was because I love the art, and I still love the art. To this day, I love the art. I have a very tumultuous relationship with the art. Like the art doesn't love me like at all.
Take a number, kid.
I love the art, you know. So even in, you know, when I'm the most depressed, I wouldn't want to do anything other than like analyze tape and roll or think about jiu-jitsu. And so, yeah, I'm not. I would have told myself, get into it, but make sure you're focused on that. You know, don't focus on these tournament goals, so to speak.
That's a great thing. I like that perspective. And
maybe it's coming full circle.
But I want to say this because good things are starting to happen again, and I do want to impress upon this. The past 2 years, from a fan's perspective, have been some of the more exciting things that we've gotten to see, just based in part of what of the stuff that you're doing. So think about that. You know, it may have been rough to make the decision for school and to really go full time into this, but I think you get so much more benefit from doing it. But for that ultimate goal, sometimes goals change, things change, situations come up. But here's the nice part. Let's talk about some good stuff. You were recently on a show, and you were giving me shit about training in the Ghee. So my question to you is, why were you on the Chris Gethard Show in a Ghee? Because everybody knows Eddie Cummings in a Ghee. They can't stop talking about it.
So I actually wanted to go no gi.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
There was a big debate before the show. I was like suited up no gi. Gary was like, no, we should do the gi. I'm like, I'm no gi. Like I was suited up no gi. I'm like, I'm going out there. Yeah. And then finally we like only got approved because like you need to get approval before you go on. Sure. And my no gi stuff wasn't approved, but the gi was. So I'm like, I have to wear the gi. I wore the gi and I was like not thrilled about it. And everyone who knows me is like, what's that thing you're wearing though? Like, why are you wearing that funny thing? Like I always see you compete no gi. So yeah, I wasn't that, but the show was awesome. It was a great experience.
It was a great experience.
He's a really nice guy. He's really funny, but he's awesome in person.
Let's talk about this. He was wearing a blue belt.
Yeah. I don't feel bad if that's what you're wondering. I have no remorse. Women
That
and
was-
children, blue belts. You roll with me.
Wow.
That's it. Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
that's
All
how
right.
you learn. That's how
Yeah,
you learn.
okay.
Like I tell Tavia, like one of my main training partners, you know, Tavia is a woman. I do not go light on her at all. Like, and she gets angry sometimes, but she's good because of it. Like, you know, she doesn't get easy rolls with me. If she's gonna hit a move on me, she's gonna earn it.
I mean, I've seen you guys warm up. That's not a warm up. That's a match. I just want to point that out to everybody who may not know that at home. They are essentially having a match when they're warming up, because I look at it and I'm like, yo, your warm up is far too superior to what I can do. But I want to bring this up because you were like, oh, you train in the Ghee, Raph? And I'm like, I do. And you're like, you shouldn't be doing that. And I'm like, how dare you, sir? How dare you try to give me mess when you showed up on national television
I did.
in a Ghee?
I know. I did it for the money. You pay me enough, I'll do anything. I'll wear whatever the hell you want. I'll grapple in a thong for $400.
Nope,
Okay.
not interested. Thanks, though. All right, talk to me about this. Okay, so you get on the show. It's a great experience. You and Eddie, Gary, are amazingly funny in it. So I was very happy to see that.
Did it come off well as like a jiu-jitsu?
For athletes, it was funny.
Okay.
For comics, it was like,
You're both. Like you're one of the few who do.
well, don't call me an athlete.
Okay, but
We
you
have to pay
train
money.
jiu-jitsu.
I train.
Yeah. And
You know.
you're in comedy professionally. Yeah. So, yeah. So what did you think of it? Like, what was your take on it?
Here's what I love. So I'm a big late night television. I've worked for late night talk shows.
Okay.
And so when you work like for something like The Tonight Show, they do a subversive take on it. So it's ironic, it has silly games, it's a little bit of a spin on what it is that I work at. So seeing you guys show up at like one of my jobs was like, oh, that's so cool. Now they're kind of on my turf and I get to evaluate them. And you know what? They did good. It'd be like, well, let's put it this way. It'd be like you looking at me doing a heel hook and you go, that's okay.
Yeah, like you got the leg, you know, you're twisting something. That's
You're in the realm. You grabbed the
like, yeah, you grab the leg, you're twisting hard, you're really trying there. Okay, I respect that. So
Absolutely.
I won't ask any more details.
But honestly, I thought you guys, here's the thing. We always want the sport to get bigger, and I'm always excited when I see my friends do amazing things like that. And I thought you guys made the most of the opportunity. And Chris looked like he was having fun for getting the shit kicked out of him, which is really the goal.
Yeah, I mean, like, keep in mind, Gary's the one who brought me on, and like he warned Chris. Like, Chris called me the day before. He's like, yeah, Gary tried to talk me out of it. He's like, you know, Eddie doesn't go light, like, no matter what. He doesn't have an off switch. Like, it's gonna be rough. Chris is like, yeah, you know, do whatever. I'm like, awesome, man.
But the reason why I ask about a blue belt is just because I was like, is he training? Does he have a blue belt?
Yeah, no, he's legit. He's like, he's getting back into it. He grapples. He's there. He shows up. Gen pop and everything. You know, he's not a rock star.
We may have to put together a super fight then. We'll work on that. I mean, talk show supremacy is really what we're going to work on here. But you know what? It's the world's most casual call out. All right, you did other stuff. Today, you showed up here. You were at Fight to Win. Talk to us about that match. How was the prep for it? What were you looking to do today?
I mean, the prep was, I actually have 2 training partners with identical body types, so I was prepared for, like, a really tough match. Like, I was really tough to finish. And he brought heat. Like, he tried, he went after it. So props to him. Like, he really came in with a game plan to beat me and applied a lot of energy towards that end. So I respect that. But I had a really good training partner, JC, Jonathan Calistine, who's like a very strong grappler, very tiny body type, but like an amazing grappler. So I was like very prepared for everything he brought at me. Like, it wasn't a surprise. And we knew when the hips go back, like, back takes, drags, things like that start coming into play. So some of the arm bars, I thought maybe I could have executed a bit better, like a second.
Oh, one of those will look pretty close. It was like that at that like fulcrum where it's gonna happen or he's gonna just.
As Sensei is a fan of saying, a submission that's 98% close is sort of worthless. It's like it's not. That's sort of the problem with submission fighting is that close gets you nothing. It costs you energy to go for that close. So yeah. That's true.
So was the game plan because obviously you're dynamic in a number of places, but was the game plan to attack the back today?
The game plan was to attack upper body, and eventually I think he started respecting some of the upper body, so he started bringing his hips and his upper body low, which gave rise to the back take. Okay. I thought he came in with a clever plan. Actually, I have to study some of his hand fighting patterns, but it definitely was. He played well. His corner was giving good advice. Like
it looked awesome and a great feather. So was this the first time you were competing, and how long?
It's been. Man, since the Samir Chantry match, which was if you count that as competing.
Sure.
I had a guy 2 weeks after that pull out on me. The Polo Meow match fell through. He got hurt, and then ADCC I didn't make it, and then so it's just been a rough 6 months of getting ready for matches and then them not happening. Sure. It's I like food, not eating food for extended periods of time.
I've seen you cut weight. It's I wouldn't say you're the happiest person you could be because you're here. You're great. You're enjoying yourself.
Pretty relieved at the moment. I was, this guy's a tough guy. I was pretty.
We gotta pull you back. Yeah. Merchandising.
I was I was pretty terrified of this fight, so I'm pretty happy it's done. Tavi didn't soccer kick me in the head if I lost.
Wait, was that a condition?
Yeah. No, I'll soccer kick you in the head if you lose. I'm like, he's good. I could lose. I don't think that's the way to motivate a grappler at all. Yeah.
I don't think that's a thing.
Apparently, a museum of failure in LA. She was Googling. She's like, I'm gonna leave you there if you lose. There's gonna be an exhibit.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a thing. That's.
Let's talk about this. What's coming up in the future for you, sir? Because it was a long time before we got to see you. We don't like seeing you gone for long periods of time.
I hate being gone for long periods of time. Competing stuff, but I as long as I can, I want to sort of put my money where my mouth is, in terms of technique. As long as I can. Okay.
So what's next? What are you thinking? What's coming up next, sir?
Well, I
do you have any other TV shows that you're going to go on? Any other talk shows?
I hope so. I'm available for booking. Just putting that out there.
Are you going to do it gi or no gi?
I will preferred no gi, but I'll show up naked.
Again, not something anybody's asking. Zero people. I just want to make sure you know that. Yep. Yep. Done the polls, done the research. No, thank you.
All right. Hopefully a match with Gio at some point. I know me and Gio have been trying to get that together.
And are we talking submission only time limit or no time limit?
I think me and Gio can agree sub only, no time limit would be the way to settle it. I think neither of us have a problem with that. That's the purest form, and I think we both have claims to that. And after our last match, I think neither of us want to leave any doubt. So that would make sense. Hopefully next DBI at 145 I'll be doing, hopefully. So, I just, and would always love to compete against the top grapplers. I'm always, when promoters ask me who I want, there's always the top guys that you all can guess, not to call anyone out. But,
you can call them out on my show. Come on.
It's just, I'm always working towards that. And I know I didn't get that opportunity at ADCC. And it's I know that's sort of the argument. Well, show up to ADCC. I'm I tried. I really, really fucking tried. So obviously 2 years is a long time to wait to do that again. So I would love to get a super fight going with some of those top grapplers. And I'm always open to that. I offer to pay my own money for that, which my manager's like, you shouldn't do that.
It's a
Stop
terrible
doing that."
choice. Yeah.
It's like,
Why is it grappling doesn't make money, guys?
do they have to pay 10% as well if I pay 10? Like, Jeff, I made negative $500.
I don't know what it is about you guys, but when you put like extra side bets on these things, I'm always like, Jesus Christ.
That was originally kind of like my idea. I'm like, let's just put up money here. Let's just do this. But yeah.
I would love to see that match with you and Gio. I think everybody would rally behind that in a heartbeat. I don't care what promoter's doing it. But let me bring this to your attention. I don't care what promoter's doing it, but make it happen. Because I don't want to talk about this forever. These guys both want the match. So, like, make it happen now. I don't want to see this in 10 years. I don't want to see this in 5 years.
10 years when, I've been drinking a lot, and Gio's probably super successful, like has his own lineage, 11th planet jiu-jitsu.
11th planet is what he's going to do now?
Yeah, I'm sure he's got, he's going to have his own empire by
I'm
then.
sorry. I didn't know if the joke writing had ever stopped since you've been on the Chris Gethard show. I'm looking around to see if you got no cards.
Trying to get into comedy, that's,
oh my God.
That's the gig, that's the lifestyle.
I'm so nervous if you get into comedy.
Be like the most awkward comic ever. Like everyone would just be sitting there quietly staring.
I don't know, man. I think if we finesse something, we can get you at some open mics that would just crush.
Yeah, certain demographics, maybe. I don't know.
In that real obscure sort of world.
Nerdy grapplers, that's my market.
Bro, they'll show up for you. Yeah. Listen, Eddie Bravo's starting to do stand-up comedy now.
Man, I see that.
He starts off by saying, "Hey, Flat Earth, what do you guys think? I'm just saying, look into it. Have you guys looked into it? No? Okay."
The Flat Earth thing's a troll, right? Is that how it is? Like everyone's joking?
I don't know, my friend.
I feel like...
But I'm just saying, isn't it a coincidence that a person with a planet solar system based thing has flat Earth? I'm just saying, I'm just putting out things in there. Look into it. Anyway, I want to ask this. We're going to end on this. First of all, before we ask the last question, can we take care of any sponsors for you, sir?
As always, Scramble, Muscle Farm.
Is it Muscle Farm? You guys,
We're actually at them.
Unreleased?
Sorry.
That one out. Jesus Christ.
What are you doing? You crazy?
You were telling me about one that you really liked.
Yeah, no, I like the organic plant-based proteins they came out with. They also have the organic plant-based protein bars I like a lot. Okay. But there are other protein bars like I eat a lot too. Like I like their stuff. Okay. Like mostly fed by Muscle Farm and cookies.
So it's not like your Ghee sponsorships now where you're just like, I love whoever makes a Ghee.
Yeah, Ghee. I mean, I do like the scrambled Ghees. Like I didn't wear the navy one, but I like. Did I end wear the navy one? Or wear the one? Yeah, and then the navy one's my go-to though. Like I feel like I feel sharp in the navy one. I feel like a Jedi.
I say that you have to have a formal Ghee for dignitaries and occasions. That's the one you like?
It is one I like a lot, yeah.
Okay. Why do you like this one again?
I'm not vegan. It just digests well. I like it. Sits well in my stomach. Tastes good. Yeah.
Well, my last question for you is, 2017 was obviously tough. If there is a goal or something that you have and you're looking forward to in 2018, what are you looking forward to now?
Hopefully I get to compete more. I like to compete more regularly. Hopefully I get better at jiu-jitsu. That's really what my main goal is every day. To be honest, like I just want to get better at jiu-jitsu. I want to understand more, and that's like hard to do. Like everyone has a hard time getting better at jiu-jitsu, and I try.
Do you subscribe to that whole like you get 1% better every day sort of bullshit?
No, you absolutely don't. Like you can get worse. Like you're probably think what is it, John? Like John says like you're as good as your last 12 training days. It's probably true. Like. Because it's the moves you're actually expressing that matter, right? So if I go in and I give you a crappy armbar setup that's going to get you passed every time, and you start repping that. I don't care if you're a world-class black belt. I don't care if Cobrini is repping this crappy armbar setup that just doesn't work. And there's a million setups like that. He's going to get his guard passed, right? So it's about the techniques you're expressing, and you can start adding more techniques and perfecting the ones you do. But you can definitely get worse by integrating poor movements or movements that don't match with your game plan. Or, you take a step back while you're learning the moves, and maybe you'll progress further, or maybe you won't. That's why I'm a big fan of taking notes. I'm a big fan of organizing your training. So you can always go back and say, what was the game plan I used here? Oh, yeah, that worked. Why did I stop doing this grip? Like, trying to keep track of it all in your head, you're only as good as your last 12 sessions, But when you start writing it down, you can review. You can put together your own game plans. Simplify. So no, you do not get 1% better every day.
Let me get my... So right here, son. I can end it right now.
That's unloaded.
Shut up, dude. Jesus Christ. Can't even do this right, Eddie Cummings. We had a great ending, and then Gary Tonin just walks over and ends it like he thinks he's in charge of stuff.
He's the boss.
I mean, I guess I could be.
He's a rock star. He's like an MMA rock star now. It's like a big deal. He doesn't return my calls. I'm like, hey Gary, how you doing? He's like, I'm busy. I'm famous now.
You know what happened? Gary got really jealous that he wasn't in this interview, and he wanted to subject himself to being in the interview very quickly. So anyway, well, Eddie, I just want to say thank you very much for giving us time for the interview. We're always glad when we get to run into you. It was far too long, and as you mentioned, not being able to interview people at EBI sucked for me when you guys went to Mexico. So hopefully next time they make it closer here. I don't know. This seems like a pretty cool facility. It'd be a good place. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see what happens if they make it somewhere close, but I'd love to see you return back, especially at an EBI format, man. It's always good running into you, man.
It's a pleasure, man. Always. Thank you very much.
Keep it locked here at verbaltapcast.com, you guys.